They feared him, but not for the reason you think.
If Michael Jordan, the most feared man in basketball, says he feared Larry Bird, then you know this isn't just another NBA story. This is bigger than stats or highlights. Players weren't just intimidated by Bird's athleticism. They feared what came out of his mouth. Larry would tell you exactly how he was going to score, and then go do it. And there was nothing you could do to stop him. Even legends like Magic, Dominique, Peyton, and Kobe admitted it. So what made Larry Bird so terrifying? His resume almost sounds unreal when you read it aloud. 3 championships, 3 consecutive MVPs, a feat only Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain had achieved before. 12 All-Star selections, Rookie of the Year. He had it all. On paper, he looked like a once-in-a-generation player who dominated his era. But here's the twist. Bird never looked like the basketball powerhouse he was. He didn't run or jump like Jordan or Dominique, and nobody would have put him in a dunk contest. Yet by the mid-'80s, conversations about the best player in the world always had his name at the top. And what makes it even more remarkable is where he came from. French Lick, Indiana, a tiny working-class town where basketball wasn't just a sport. It was the only thing people had to be proud of. They called him the Hick from French Lick. Instead of shying away, Bird embraced it. He grew up in a large family with limited means, and basketball became his escape. By the time he reached Indiana State, it wasn't just about putting up numbers. It was about dragging a program nobody cared about into the national spotlight.
Michigan State controls. Donnelly in the backcourt. The key, many feel, to beating Michigan State is to take the early lead. When the Spartans get in front of...
That 1979 NCAA title game against Magic Johnson's Michigan State remains one of the most watched college basketball games of all time. And remember, Bird didn't even win that night. Magic's team was simply too stacked. But the fact that he led Indiana State there at all was incredible. Before him, the Sycamores were virtually invisible. Suddenly, they were on the front page of every sports section in the country. That game wasn't just great TV. It ignited one of the most important rivalries in sports history. Even in defeat, Bird's legend grew because people realized this wasn't a one-time fluke. When the Celtics finally drafted him, the timing couldn't have been better. The team had just finished the 1979 season with only 29 wins, one of their worst ever. Then Bird arrived as a rookie and bam, they won 61 games. That a 32-win swing, just from one player. And he didn't ease into the league. Right from
Allen level. Bergsten brings it down. You see 2 seconds. 1. And the world champion, the Boston Celtics.
Most rookies take years to adjust to the NBA, but Larry Bird arrived looking like he'd been running the league for a decade. What people often forget is how much he elevated everyone around him. Guys like Dave Cowens and Tiny Archibald, who seemed past their prime, suddenly came alive again. Then Red Auerbach doubled down, pulling off the Parrish trade, drafting Kevin McHale, and later adding Dennis Johnson, while keeping Cedric Maxwell. Before long, Boston wasn't just good. They were the most feared team in the league. By Bird's second season, they were champions. And if you're a true NBA fan, you know that almost never happens. Rookies don't rebuild dynasties, but Larry did it in real time. Early on, the reaction around the league was pure respect. Players respected his numbers, his toughness, and the fact that he made the Celtics relevant again. But respect is surface level. Fear runs deeper. Fear is when you start second-guessing yourself before the game even begins because of the guy across from you. Those first few years set the foundation. The resume, the underdog story, the turnaround in Boston. But the true fear came later, when Bird began calling his shots out loud and forcing defenders to watch him make them. When people talk about Bird's trash talk, it wasn't the usual "you can't guard me" stuff. Everyone says that. What made him different was that he told you exactly what he was going to do and then went out and did it. It wasn't an insult. It was a prophecy. That's what broke most of the players he faced. If someone whispers in your ear that they're about to hit a jumper from the wing and then drains in your face, you're not just losing on the scoreboard. You're losing.
I'm like, he's like, I am the best shooter this game, and he's saying it out loud so everyone can see. I'm like, oh my God, he's outing me at my home. in front of all my family and friends. I'm the best shooter this game has ever seen.
Reggie grew up idolizing Larry Bird. And then suddenly he found himself on the court against him. Bird wasted no time checking him. He walked right up to the rookie and said, "You're the guy they drafted ahead of me." The funny part? It wasn't even true. Reggie was drafted in 1987 and Bird in 1978. But that was exactly the point. Larry didn't care if the line made sense. He just wanted to get inside your head. For a rookie like Reggie, that was enough. Bird then proceeded to torch Indiana with jumper after jumper, as if making a statement. Reggie has told that story countless times because it was the moment he realized Larry wasn't just a scorer. He was a talker who turned every game into psychological warfare. And
he let me know from the start of the game what he was going to do. He really did. He let me know. Before the game, he told me, he was like, he just shook his head at me. He said, "Man, it's going to be up night for you."
So what did he put up?
I think he gave me 40. Oh.
Shawn Kemp was a young, freakish athlete. A human highlight reel waiting to happen. He had all the bounce in the world, while Bird had none of it. You'd think the matchup would be unfair in Kemp's favor. But Bird didn't need to outjump anyone. Kemp has told the story himself. In his rookie year, Bird sized him up and essentially called a shot, telling him exactly where he would score. And, of course, he hit the exact shot he predicted. Kemp later admitted it shook him. How do you defend that? You're young, eager to prove yourself, and a veteran just predicted your failure out loud. And then there's the famous three-point contest story. This one is classic.
Who come in second? Let's take the picture.
Where'd you place?
He beat me up.
But here's the thing. Even when Rodman tried to tear him down, he ended up proving the point. Bird didn't scare people because he was flashy or explosive. He scared them because he turned the basics into inevitability. For a defender like Rodman, who thrived on chaos and unpredictability, Bird was maddening. Not because he played mind games in the usual way, but because he bored you to death with a move you'd seen 1,000 times. Except he told you he was going to do it, and you still watched it go in. That's the essence of Bird's psychological warfare. He weaponized predictability. Every shot he called, every prediction he made, reinforced the idea that once Larry decided how a possession would end, nothing could stop it. It was inevitability disguised as trash talk. And once players started believing it, the game was over before the ball even left his hands. And it wasn't just rookies or role players who felt the Bird effect. Even legends bowed to it. Start with Magic Johnson. Their rivalry basically built modern basketball. They first clashed in the 1979 NCAA title game, one of the most watched college games ever, and carried that rivalry into the NBA, where Celtics versus Lakers became the league's heartbeat. Magic has always admitted that Bird wasn't just a rival. He was the guy who pushed him to his limits. Magic was showtime. Flash, speed, and pace. But every time he ran into Bird, he knew there was a man on the other end who could slow everything down and kill him with efficiency. Their battles in the 80s weren't just games. They were events. Magic has said flat out that Bird was the toughest competitor he ever faced. Don't just take my word for it. See it for yourself. Next voice. Then there's Dominique Wilkins. Everyone remembers the 1988 Eastern Conference semifinals when he and Bird went shot for shot. Dominique dropped 47 points. Bird answered with 34. But it wasn't the numbers that mattered, it was the timing. In the fourth quarter, Bird scored 20 points, and every bucket felt like a dagger. Dominique himself called it the best game ever played between two forwards. Even though the Hawks lost, he admitted afterward that Bird had something different. That competition became legendary. Not because one guy dominated the other, but because both went supernova, and Bird walked away with the win. For a player like Dominique, who thrived on confidence, to tip his hat, that way says everything about the respect Bird demanded in real time. Gary Payton brought a different flavor. Usually, the glove never shuts up. He never let an opponent breathe without chirping in their ear. But even he said Bird's trash talk was on another level. Payton remembered being shocked that Bird didn't just talk nonsense. He talked specifics. Payton called it both disrespectful and beautiful, because it wasn't just a head game. It was a flex on execution. Even Kobe Bryant, who came along after Bird had retired, gave him massive credit. Kobe, a student of the game obsessed with learning, studied Bird the way he studied Jordan. He said he learned how Bird manipulated defenders, used his body to create space, and never wasted a single movement. Next voice. Kobe even said that Bird was one of the players he modeled his footwork and patience after. Coming from Kobe, that's the ultimate compliment. When you line up all these testimonies, Magic, Dominique, Peyton, Kemp, Kobe, the picture becomes clear. These were different eras, different styles, yet the same conclusion emerges. Bird wasn't feared for his athletic gifts. He was feared because the best players alive couldn't stop him from doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And to top it all off, even the GOAT himself didn't hold back. Next voice. Yeah, that was Michael Jordan confirming everything I've been saying from the start. When Jordan entered the league in 1984, he was all flash, athleticism, and skill. But the Bulls weren't ready to compete with the heavyweights. And the heaviest of them all at that time? Larry Bird Celtics. Every time young MJ stepped into Boston Garden, he wasn't just facing a team stacked with Hall of Famers. He was entering Bird's personal arena. The Celtics dominated Chicago almost every time. Bird made sure Jordan felt every ounce of that learning curve. Jordan could drop 30, 40, even 50 points, and Boston still walk away with the win. Bird made it clear. Numbers didn't matter if the scoreboard didn't swing your way. That was the message.
Michigan State controls. Donnelly in the backcourt. The key, many feel, to beating Michigan State is to take the early lead when the Spartans get in front.
Jordan delivered one of the most iconic performances in NBA history, dropping 63 points in Game 2 against the Celtics. It was so incredible that even the Boston Garden crowd gave him a standing ovation. Truly unreal. In an interview, Bird himself commented on Jordan's performance that night, sharing just how remarkable it was. Next voice. Think about that. The best player in the world at the time looked across the court, saw a 23-year-old drop the most points ever in a playoff game, and gave him near divine status. But here's the kicker. Even on Jordan's greatest night, the Celtics still won. Bird finished with 36 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists. He didn't just acknowledge Jordan's brilliance. He reminded everyone that basketball is about the ultimate outcome. That game stuck with Jordan. If you look at how MJ built his own mental edge later, the trash talk, the psychological battles, turning every insult into fuel, you can see Bird's fingerprints all over it. Jordan studied how Bird got into players' heads, took that formula and weaponized it. He'd tell you he was going to drop 40, then drop 55. He'd invent grudges just to make himself angrier and his opponents more nervous. People credit Kobe for studying Jordan, but the truth is, Jordan himself borrowed plenty of his mind games from watching Bird dismantle players. And when you really consider it, it's wild. Jordan wasn't scared of anybody, but when he talks about Larry Bird, the tone changes. It's not bravado. It's not disrespect. It's pure respect, with a little sprinkle of fear. And if the greatest player of all time admits he felt that fear, the case is closed. Here's the secret behind Bird's technique. What made him truly dangerous wasn't just one skill. It was a formula he repeated every night. First, shot making. His release was compact, his balance never wavered, and his range stretched from the mid-post to well beyond the three-point line. Second, footwork. Bird used subtle shifts, pump fakes, and pivots that often froze defenders, leaving them unsure which way to move. Third, passing. He would bait the help defender, then punish the rotation with a pass that made you feel like you blew the assignment.